The heat of the Miami summer was nothing compared to the warmth radiating from her skin. I shouldn't have been in her room. The door was unlocked, barely ajar, and her scent, something soft, like vanilla and jasmine, had lured me in without warning. I told myself I was just exploring the house again, after so many years away. That stepping into the bedroom of the girl I barely knew, technically my stepsister, was a mistake I could back out of at any second. But when I saw her there, sprawled out on the bed, one leg bent, the other lazily brushing the edge of the silk sheet, I didn't move. Couldn't. Her eyes opened slowly, like she already knew I'd been standing there the whole time. "Took you long enough," she said, voice low, amused. Quinn. I hadn't said her name out loud in years, but now it felt dangerous on my tongue. We'd only met again 2 weeks ago. She was my father's new stepdaughter, the daughter of his second wife, Madeline. I'd flown in from London after almost a decade abroad with my mother. My return to Florida was supposed to be temporary. A reunion, a family visit, nothing more. But then Quinn happened. I began, but she tilted her head, a golden strand of hair falling over one shoulder. "You were just watching me," she said, not accusing, more curious. "You do that a lot." "I'm not." "You are." She sat up, letting the sheet slide off her bare shoulder, exposing skin like sunlit caramel. I saw the thin strap of her camisole slide down, the edge of lace brushing against the top of her breast. I should have walked away. I should have closed the door. Instead, I stepped closer. "It's wrong," I muttered, more to myself than her. "Why?" she asked, with an amused smirk. "Because you think I'm your little sister?" The way she said it, like the word was something sour in her mouth, made something in me twitch. She leaned forward, arms resting on her knees, letting her camisole ride up and expose more thigh than was decent. "We're not blood," she whispered. "Still. You're not married, are you?" "No." "Not taken?" "No." She stood up, slow and deliberate, and walked the few steps until we were inches apart. Her scent was stronger now. Intoxicating. "Then stop pretending," she murmured, looking straight into my eyes. "Stop lying to yourself." She kissed me. Or maybe I kissed her. I don't remember who moved first. All I remember was the taste of her lips, ripe strawberries and something darker. Her mouth opened beneath mine like she'd been waiting for this, like she'd rehearsed the rhythm of it in her dreams. I backed her against the door, our bodies pressed close, and felt her hips shift forward, grinding against me like she wanted to erase every layer between us. My hands found the hem of her camisole, pulling it up over her head. She raised her arms for me without a word. Her breasts spilled out, firm and perfect, nipples already hardened, begging for my mouth. I dipped my head and took one between my lips, rolling it gently, then sucking harder as she moaned and tangled her fingers in my hair. She pulled me closer, her breath hot in my ear. "Bed," she gasped. I didn't need to be told twice. We stumbled backwards, shedding clothes like fire, kissing in short, hungry bursts. Her nails raked down my back as I lifted her up and dropped her gently onto the mattress. She spread her legs without hesitation, and I knelt between them, admiring the way she looked, wild, beautiful, and so damn ready. "Please," she whispered, and the sound of that one word snapped the last of my restraint. I slid my hands up her thighs, spreading her open with my thumbs, and lowered my mouth to her. She tasted like sin. Sweet, wet, and irresistible. Her hips bucked against my face, thighs trembling as I teased her, slow at first, then faster, using my tongue to drive her to the edge. Her moans turned frantic, body arching off the bed. "Oh my God, fuck, yes, right there." Her hands clawed at the sheets. I kept going until she shattered against my mouth, a soft cry escaping her lips as she came, thighs clenched tight around my head. I crawled up her body, kissing the trail of her stomach, her chest, her throat. She reached down between us and wrapped her fingers around me, stroking once, twice, before guiding me inside her. We both groaned. She was tight, hot, so perfect I had to fight to keep control. Move, she demanded, her voice breathy. Harder. I obeyed. The bed rocked with each thrust. Headboard thumping the wall in rhythm. Her hands gripped my shoulders, nails digging into my skin. I was losing myself in her voice, her heat, her body pulling me deeper, as if she wanted me to disappear inside her completely. Sweat beaded on my brow. My breath came in gasps. She met every stroke with hunger, whispering filthy things in my ear, telling me how long she'd waited, how much she wanted this me. Don't stop, she begged. And I didn't. We came together, her cry muffled against my shoulder, my groan buried in her hair. I collapsed beside her, heart pounding so loud I could barely hear anything else. We lay there, silent for a long while, skin tangled, breathing ragged. I dreamed about this, she said softly. I turned to look at her. Really? She smiled, eyes closed, utterly content. Every night since you came back. And God help me, I didn't regret a thing. The sunlight slipped through the sheer curtains, soft and golden, stretching over our naked bodies tangled in sheets. Quinn was still asleep, her breath steady, one leg thrown possessively over my thigh. I watched her for a moment, so peaceful, so breathtakingly unaware of the chaos brewing inside me. What we did last night, it wasn't a mistake. It should have been. It was reckless. Unforgivable, even. But as I ran my fingers slowly down her spine and felt her stir beneath my touch, all I could think was I want more. She sighed, eyes still closed. You're staring. You're beautiful. Her lips curved into a lazy smile before she opened her eyes. I know. I laughed under my breath. She rolled on top of me, her bare breasts brushing against my chest, her hair falling around my face like a golden curtain. Do you regret it? She asked, her tone teasing, but her eyes searching. No, I said honestly. But I probably should. Quinn tilted her head. Because of my mom? Because of everything. I traced a line from her collarbone to the dip between her breasts. We live under the same roof. Your mother is married to my father. If anyone finds out, they won't, she interrupted, her voice firmer now. Unless you start acting guilty. I sat up slightly, resting on my elbows. You don't feel even a little conflicted? She leaned down and kissed me, soft and slow. No, she murmured against my lips. I feel like I've waited too long to want you. Her words hit somewhere deep. The way she said them. Not casual, not careless, like this meant more to her than a thrill. Like she'd meant every kiss, every breathless gasp the night before. We spent the rest of the morning in bed, taking our time. The urgency from last night had melted into something softer, but no less intense. Her body felt like a drug I couldn't quit, every curve memorized by my hands, every sound she made engraved into my skin. Eventually, hunger pulled us apart. She threw on an oversized tee, mine, I realized, and padded barefoot into the kitchen while I dressed in yesterday's clothes. The house was quiet. My father was away on business, and Madeline was likely out on one of her morning yoga classes. Or so we thought. As we ate breakfast, Quinn sitting on the counter swinging her legs, I heard the front door creak open. Shit, she whispered, eyes wide. That's her. I turned toward the sound. The heels on the hardwood gave her away before she even came into view. And then she did. Madeline. Every time I looked at her, it was a jolt. She was nothing like the stepmothers you imagined growing up. No stiff pearls or bitter frowns. She was young, barely in her 40s, and striking. Dark red lipstick. Long legs in sleek black trousers, a silk blouse clinging to her curves. She looked more like a runway model than a suburban wife. Her eyes fell on us instantly. I stepped back instinctively, but Quinn stayed where she was calm, composed. Maybe too composed. Madeline arched a brow, setting her purse on the kitchen island. Good morning. Morning, Quinn said sweetly, hopping off the counter like nothing was out of place. Madeline's gaze flicked between the two of us. You two seem cozy. Quinn smiled, brushing past me toward the fridge. Just breakfast. I mumbled something about going to shower and made a quick exit. I could feel Madeline's eyes on my back the entire time. Later that afternoon, I found her on the back patio, sipping white wine with sunglasses perched on her nose. She looked at me when I opened the sliding door, but didn't speak right away. "You've grown up," she finally said, voice calm. I leaned on the doorframe. "I guess." She sipped again, then glanced at me over the rim of her glass. "It's easy to forget you're not that little boy anymore. But then, the way Quinn looks at you." I stiffened. "Madeline." "I'm not blind," she said, cutting me off gently. "And I'm not stupid." I stepped onto the patio, lowering my voice. "If you know something happened, you should talk to her. Not me." She tilted her head, studying me like she could see through my bones. "Should I?" There was something in her tone. Curious, cold, but not angry. Not surprised. Almost expectant. I tried to keep my voice even. "Are you going to tell my father?" She smiled, slow and strange. "What do you think?" I didn't answer. I wasn't sure what this was, some kind of test or game, or if she genuinely didn't care. She reached into a drawer beside her seat and pulled out a small envelope. "I have something for you," she said, offering it with a perfectly manicured hand. I stared at it, hesitant. "Go on," she coaxed. "It's important." I took it. It was unsealed. I glanced at her once more before pulling out the single folded sheet inside. At first, I didn't understand what I was reading. It was a DNA test. The names printed on the page made my blood run cold. My name, Quinn's, and a match. Same father. My legs went numb. "What the fuck is this?" I whispered. Madeline stood, setting her wine down carefully. "I've known since the day your father brought you home." She walked past me, pausing only once to rest a hand on my shoulder. And I let it happen. I turned to face her. "Why?" She didn't answer. She just gave me a look, something bitter, triumphant, and walked back into the house. The door clicked softly behind her, but the sound felt louder than any scream. I stood there on the patio for what felt like forever, the DNA result clutched in my shaking hands, the words burning into my brain like a brand I'd never erase. Same father, same blood. Every kiss, every touch, every time I had Quinn beneath me, it all rewrote itself in my mind, twisted and wrong. My throat was dry. I wanted to scream. I wanted to vomit. But above all, I needed to see her. Now. I stormed up the stairs 2 at a time, the paper crumpling in my grip. Quinn was in her room, sitting cross-legged on the bed with a book in her lap. She looked up when I entered, her face lighting up for a split second, until she saw my expression. "What's wrong?" she asked, standing quickly. I shut the door behind me, locking it. My voice was hoarse. "Why didn't you tell me?" Her brows furrowed. "Tell you what?" "About him," I said, tossing the letter onto her bed. "About us." She picked it up slowly, reading the contents. Her fingers trembled. "You weren't supposed to see this." "But you knew," I said, my voice sharp now. "You knew we had the same father. You knew what we were doing, and you still—" "I didn't plan it," she snapped, suddenly fierce. "Do you think I wanted this? That I wanted to fall for you? You didn't stop it either." She stared at me, eyes glassy. "Because I didn't care. I still don't." My breath caught. "You're not just my brother, Levi. Not to me. You never were." She walked up to me, slow and deliberate. "We didn't grow up together. We didn't share anything except a man who fucked both our mothers and left a trail of lies behind." I took a step back. "That doesn't change the fact that he's our father." "No," she said, voice low. "But it changes how we live with it." I sank down onto her bed, head in my hands. "Madeline knew," I muttered. "She handed me that letter like she was giving me a death sentence. She let it happen, Quinn. She sat beside me. Of course she did. She's been waiting for this." I looked up at her. "What are you talking about?" "She's punishing him," she said quietly. "This was all about revenge." "You mean she used us?" Quinn gave a bitter laugh. She's been using me for years. Ever since she found out who my real father was, she's treated me like a stain she can't wash out. But she couldn't throw me away, not without losing face. So she did the next best thing. My stomach turned. She left us in the same house. She let us get close, Quinn added. She wanted us to. And now she gets to sit back and watch us tear each other apart. The silence that followed was suffocating. Every breath felt like a betrayal. I looked at Quinn, her lips, her bare legs tucked beneath her, the small scar above her brow I'd kissed the night before. I still wanted her. God help me, I still wanted her. I don't know how to stop, I whispered. Her hand found mine. Don't. We can't. We can, she said firmly. You think I haven't gone over this 1,000 times in my head? That I haven't cried myself to sleep trying to undo what's already done? Quinn, I try to stop, Levi, she said, voice breaking. But the truth is, I want you more than I care about right or wrong. My chest ached. This is a sickness. It feels more like hunger, she said, and kissed me before I could say anything else. It wasn't a soft kiss. It was desperate, furious, a collision of guilt and lust, too strong to be denied. I should have pulled away, but I couldn't. Her fingers dug into my shoulders, and I groaned into her mouth, all my resistance unraveling. We fell backward onto the bed. The letter crumpled beneath us. Her hands yanked my shirt over my head. Mine slid up her thighs, pushing aside her shorts. Her breath hitched as I pressed against her, and her nails scraped across my spine. Tell me to stop. I breathed, my lips brushing her jaw, her neck, her collarbone. No. She moaned. Don't stop. Don't ever stop. Our bodies moved like they were made for each other, like blood and bone didn't matter. I knew it was wrong. Every second we gave in pulled us deeper into something dark and irreversible. But her skin burned under mine, and her moans made the world fall away, and I couldn't find the will to care. We collapsed into each other, panting, tangled, drenched in sweat and shame. I hate that this feels so good, I murmured into her shoulder. She turned her face toward mine. Then hate me with your whole body. I kissed her again, slower, almost tender. When we finally lay still, her head resting on my chest, I stared up at the ceiling, dazed. What now? I asked. We act normal, she said simply. We pretend, like we always have. I laughed, bitter and low. I don't know what normal is anymore. She leaned up on one elbow, brushing hair from my face. Then let's create our own version. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Madeline smile, the way it never reached her eyes. I thought about my father, the lies he buried, the children he scattered like seeds. And I thought about Quinn, how everything that should have ended us only made us tighter, closer, more dangerous. And I couldn't shake the feeling that the worst was still coming. Got it. The previous section is now part 4. Here is the correct part 3, 1,000 words, continuing from the end of part 2. The summer heat didn't care what we were doing. It wrapped around us like a second skin, heavy and humid, sticking to our sweat-slicked bodies as Quinn arched beneath me on the mattress in her room. The soft moan that slipped from her lips landed somewhere between sin and salvation. Her fingers dug into my shoulders as I thrust deeper. My name spilled from her mouth like a prayer she wasn't sure she should be saying. Levi. The way she said it, broken, desperate, ignited something deeper in me. I dipped down to kiss her. Hard and hungry. Her legs tightened around my waist. The rhythm we moved in wasn't just carnal. It was need. It was all the words we couldn't say, and all the ones we'd sworn never to speak aloud. When we finished, she lay against my chest, her breath shallow and fast. I played with strands of her damp hair, heart still racing. We have to stop, she said eventually, though her fingers were tracing lazy circles along my ribs. This can't go on. You said that yesterday, I replied quietly. I meant it then, too. I rolled to face her, brushing her cheek with the back of my knuckles. Do you regret it? Her gaze flickered.
No.
That's the worst part. We stayed like that for a while, not speaking. The silence was thick. Not empty. Full of everything we knew, but didn't want to confront. We both understood the stakes, but understanding didn't change the fact that we kept coming back to each other. Over and over again. Downstairs, the front door closed. Footsteps. Madeline was home. Panic rippled across Quinn's face. She scrambled for her robe, while I grabbed my shirt and slipped out the bedroom window like some goddamn cliché. Later that night, I heard a knock at my door. I expected Quinn, but it was Madeline. "Can I come in?" she asked. Voice calm. I nodded, stepping aside. She walked in like she owned the space. She always did. With her silk blouse tucked into tailored trousers, her hair pinned back in that effortlessly chic way. She didn't look like a stepmother. She looked like temptation wrapped in control. "I just had a glass of wine with Quinn," she said, turning to face me. She seemed tense. I said nothing. "She's beautiful, isn't she?" Madeline continued, pouring herself a glass of water from the decanter on my dresser like it was her own room. Still, I didn't answer. "She has your father's eyes,"
she said.
"You both do." I froze. "What's that supposed to mean?" I asked slowly. She smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Only that genetics are a funny thing. You'd be amazed how much a single man can shape a legacy." I crossed my arms. "If you've got something to say, Madeline, say it." She stepped close. So close I could smell the faint trace of her perfume, jasmine and something darker. "I think you should be careful with your feelings, Levi. They can take you places you can't come back from." Before I could ask what the hell that was supposed to mean, she was already turning, walking toward the door. "And shut your window next time," she added without looking back. It's not very discreet. The door closed softly behind her. I stood there for several minutes, pulse pounding, her words repeating over and over in my mind. It felt like a warning, or a threat, or maybe both. The next day, Quinn and I met in the park down the street. Neutral territory.
Public.
No rooms to fall into, no beds to lose ourselves in. She wore a sundress and no makeup. Her vulnerability made her even more dangerous. "She knows," I said, sitting beside her on the bench. Quinn didn't ask who.
"Yeah."
"I know. What do we do?" She shook her head. "I don't know, Levi. I don't even know who I am in this house anymore. You're the only real thing I have here." She turned to me then, eyes glossy. "Do you ever wonder if this, us, is just some sick reaction to a messed up family? Like, maybe we're just broken in the same way, and that's why we keep clinging to each other?" "Maybe," I said. "But even if it is, it doesn't make it any less real." We sat there for a long time, not touching, afraid to. Every part of me wanted to pull her into my arms, kiss her until the noise in my head went quiet. But I didn't. That night, we stayed apart. For once. But absence didn't make the ache fade. It made it worse. At midnight, I found myself standing outside her door. My fist hovered, unsure. It opened before I knocked. Quinn stood there, her robe loosely tied, eyes shadowed. "I couldn't sleep," I said. "Neither could I." She stepped aside, and I walked in. We didn't undress each other with urgency this time.
It was slow.
Reverent. Every touch asked a question. Every kiss answered it.
We didn't rush.
We just needed. I made love to her like she was the only thing keeping me alive. Her body clung to mine like she believed it too. After, we lay tangled in each other, the world a quiet storm outside the window. She whispered, "I don't care what she knows. I don't care what anyone knows." I kissed her forehead. "Me neither." But I was lying, because deep down, I knew something was coming. Something we couldn't outrun. Something that would tear this fragile illusion apart, piece by piece. The envelope sat on the kitchen counter like a loaded gun. Madeline didn't say a word when she handed it to me. She didn't need to. Her eyes had that same steel calm I'd seen the night she walked in on us, on Levi and me. She had looked at me like she already knew everything. And now I realized she had. From the beginning. I took the envelope to my room. My hands were shaking, my stomach already in knots. As if my body had read the truth before my eyes had. The paper was thick, formal, government-stamped. 2 names. Levi Grant, Quinn Madeline Chen. The numbers underneath were meaningless at first, just clinical digits, codes. But the conclusion beneath them was clear, unmistakable. Probability of shared paternity, 99.98%. My knees buckled. I sat on the edge of the bed, letter clutched in my hand like it had cut me open. Maybe it had. We had the same father. I wanted to scream. I wanted to laugh. I wanted to rip every piece of memory out of my mind and hurl it into the void. But all I could do was sit there, trembling, as images of Levi flashed like broken glass behind my eyes. His mouth on my neck. His voice whispering my name. My body under his. Oh God. I was sick before I even reached the bathroom. It didn't change how I'd felt. But it changed everything. When I finally came downstairs, Madeline was pouring herself tea like it was any other morning. Her silk robe clung to her like armor. She didn't look up as I stood there, crumpled letter in my hand, body still raw. You knew, I said, voice hollow. She sipped from the cup. Yes. For how long? Since the wedding. I had the test done before I married him. Just in case. She set the cup down, finally meeting my eyes. Turns out, I didn't need a reason to hate him. I already had plenty. You let us fall into each other, I whispered. You watched it happen. I did. Her expression didn't change. And I didn't stop it. I shook my head, disgusted.
Why?
Madeline leaned back slightly, as if my question amused her. Because I wanted your father to suffer. To watch everything he built turn to ash. I wanted his perfect little family to rot from the inside, just like mine did when he abandoned me. You're insane. No, she said quietly. I'm patient. I stormed out before I said something I couldn't take back. The only person I needed to see was Levi. I found him in the greenhouse, where the vines had long since overtaken the walls. Broken glass scattered like forgotten time. He was sitting on the bench we used to lie on, elbows on knees, staring into space. He looked up when he saw me. No words. Just pain in his eyes. Pain that mirrored mine. You got it too? I asked. He nodded. Neither of us moved. I couldn't breathe, I said. I threw up, he replied. I walked slowly to him. Sat beside him. Not touching. Just close enough to feel the weight between us. I hate her, I said. I hate what she did. She wanted to hurt him, he said. But we were the ones who bled. Silence settled around us. Heavy and full of unsaid things. What we had, I began.
Was real, he finished.
I looked at him then. Really looked. And it hurt. God, it hurt.
Because I still wanted him.
My body didn't understand what my brain knew now. My heart didn't either. But it has to end, I said. You know that, right? He didn't answer. Just stared at the ground. You're still the only person who's ever made me feel like I could breathe, I whispered. But now, I feel like I'm suffocating. His jaw clenched. I'd give anything to rewind time. I know, I said. We sat there for a long time. I don't know how long. Long enough for the light to shift through the broken glass above us, casting strange, fractured shadows on our skin. Then I reached out and took his hand one last time. His fingers curled around mine like they always had, like it was the most natural thing in the world. I love you, I said, quietly. But I need to learn how to stop.
He didn't respond.
Maybe he couldn't. When I let go, it felt like tearing a piece of myself out of my chest. I left the estate that evening. Told Madeline nothing.
She didn't ask.
I went back to the city. Enrolled in a postgraduate program. Got a job at a bookstore downtown. Anything to keep my mind busy. Anything to stay away from the silence that used to be filled with Levi's breath against my skin. Weeks passed. He never called. I didn't expect him to. But one night, just before sleep, I got a message from him. Just one line. You are the only truth in a house full of lies. I didn't reply. Some wounds don't close. Some loves don't end. They just live in the quiet places we don't speak of. But I carry him with me, still. In the spaces between bookshelves, in the way music sounds softer at night, in the way I sometimes still turn to reach for a hand that isn't there. We were born from betrayal. But what we had, it was love. Even if it should have never happened,